Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. I hope y'all all doing well and enjoying your day so far, and I wanted to talk about some of the other teams in the CDL Pro League right now. There's been a lot of discussion these last few days about some of the big dogs, right? The LA Thieves is the difficulties that they have been having, OpTic, Chicago of course, but there's plenty of other teams that also deserve, well, some degree of criticism and scrutiny, you could well argue, especially regarding the fact that some of these teams just haven't been competitive pretty much at all, and it certainly does not seem like they will for the remainder of the season. But are these teams actually looking to make changes? Are some of the pro players on these teams relatively scared of amateur players taking their jobs, or are some of the management on these teams simply unwilling to take a chance on young talent? Intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Luckily you guys enjoy the video, subscribe if you are new, as always I'd greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that. First of all, wanted to say thank you to Draftbuff for sponsoring today's content. This is, well, the draft rail of course that's going on right now, over 5,000 people in this one, the largest draft rail in Draftbuff history. Congratulations to David Nunes last week for taking it down. I mean, Cellium, aBeZy, Insights, Paulix and Standy was his team Toronto Ultra as the team pick on the day. 1 out of 5,531. Not too bad at all. These are my picks for this week, so I've gone for Accra. I think Paris just played one series against Florida, so hopefully he can put up some numbers. I'm going for Simp and Arcitys as well. I've got faith that FaZe are going to have another cracking week. Gunless I think is also a pretty good shout for just 53 points, but don't take advice from me, I'm awful at this. But if you want to beat me in my own draft royale, the link of course will be there to join in the pinned comment below, and also in the description box, all that good stuff. Thought I'd mention this as well. We did the Breaking Point podcast came live yesterday, so I'll leave that link down below if you guys would like to check it out. Pretty funny thumbnail that I did right here, talking about all the major things that have happened this past week, but also touching on what we're going to discuss today. The fact that some of these teams right now, I mean, we're going to look at Paris, we're going to look at Los Angeles Guerrillas, we're going to look at Toronto Ultra, especially finding themselves in a pretty difficult scenario right now. And as ZooMaa was talking about on the flank just a few days ago, the fact that, like, do these teams actually want to win? Are they just playing for top 6? Are they actually trying to win championships here? Or are they just playing for, well, top 6 place and saying that that is, well, good enough? And I think you can certainly argue that that is the case. But at the end of the day, how easy is it to even win championships right now when you've got a team like FaZe on the block? Just wanted to start off talking about this team a little bit, well, singing their praises somewhat, because pretty remarkable to see. I mean, maybe we'll have this discussion in coming weeks, but in previous seasons, we've had the discussion like, look, would there ever be a dominant team again in the CDL, or like in Call of Duty in general, with the competitiveness as high as it is back to 4v4? It seemed like it was going to be even harder to be such a dominant team. But as Simp says right here, 11-0 in the Pro League, playing even some league play last week up against Los Angeles Thieves, and this stat honestly is pretty insane. So far this season, they are 35-9 in terms of their map count, and they've won 11 series, right? Think about that, right? They've played 11 series, they've won all 11 series, and they've only lost 9 map losses within those 11 series wins. So pretty remarkable to see. I mean, FaZe are just on another level right now, and this stat especially, I mean, as you can see from Simp right here, 1.26 overall KD. I mean, these stats out of control. The purple means, I think, like top 5 stat leader in all categories, kind of what Lion Man does on his cards right here. So honestly disgusting stuff. I don't really know who's going to be touching the FaZe guys right now, but there's a few teams in the league right now which certainly deserve, well, you could argue, some scrutiny in terms of their decision making, because the vast majority of the teams in the league have either already been pretty good, have been making some significant attempts to improve quite significantly, either to their initial roster or they're making changes, or of course they're just improving significantly regardless. A team like Seattle Surge seems to have got things together, with Prestinni now moving to a better internet situation down in Atlanta. And for the difficult time that the Thieves have been taking lately, I mean, of course they want to be championship contenders. They're still sitting here at 5th. They have shown some promise, and to their credit, they are actually making opportunities. Like, they're trying to make changes, right? They're bringing in Venom. They're trying to switch things up to make this team better. Maybe they will continue to make more changes over the coming days if, you know, this stage doesn't really finish out as they would have liked it to. But, you know, a lot of teams right now that looked so bad, I mean, Rokkr especially, Thieves, they're trying to make changes. Rokkr look much better. Chicago, of course, looked great at the start of the season. There's questions there, but Subliners, Empire, FaZe, they're all, you know, not exactly in a perfect spot, but I mean, FaZe are in a perfect spot pretty much. But, you know, Empire still have room to improve, and most of these teams have at least looked competitive. And Mutineers, they look somewhat better as of late. I mean, they're 21-21 in terms of map win, and it's actually the two bottom teams in Seattle and the Ravens, which have had something of a comeback, right? Like, Ravens have won 2 out of their 3 series that they've played so far in this stage. Then you've got Seattle, which looks so much better these last few days as well. But there's these 3 teams really that are top 8 to top 10, Guerrillas, Ultra, and Legion, which really find themselves in a difficult spot, because Guerrillas just haven't been looking great by any means. They're on a 5 series loss streak, I believe, right now. Ultra, even since this insight change, hasn't really rejuvenated the lineup, doesn't really seem so. I think even Octane was talking on the flank, the fact that they're having, you know, they were using insight on the SMG, that wasn't working out for them. I'm not really sure that's going to be a solution by any means. And then we've got the Paris Legion, a team of 4 where, okay, Fire maybe hasn't been looking so strong. Seems like they're going to be making a change here and actually bringing back, well, Scraps to the SMG role and Fire to the main assault, or back to an assault rifle role with Aqua being the main AR. Now, yeah, will this work? Will this not? Who really knows? But at the end of the day, it seems to me, and I think it seems to a lot of people, that Paris are just unwilling to actually, you know, part with any extra cash. They've said, okay, this is the lineup we're going to be having for the season, and this is kind of how it is. And then you look at some of the other teams, you look at Toronto, right? Are they in a similar boat? Do they actually want to try anyone else out in their squad? Because honestly, all those three teams, what are they competing for right now? They're not going to win championships. They're sitting here in no man's land. And you know, to the credit of Thieves and Rokkr, they seem to be making attempts, right? They're making changes to the lineup. They're trying to do things which is going to make them championship contenders. Because, you know, I'm not sure how long FaZe can stay at the top 4. Maybe they can just stay at the top forever. But even though if right now you are just competing for second place, like Rokkr just beat the Dallas Empire, right? And you know, Paris of course got relatively close. There's other teams that have got pretty close as well. But yeah, which of these three teams right now is actually competing for second place at a tournament? I don't think there's any, right? And if you're competing for second, you could be competing for third if FaZe fall off to some degree at some point throughout the season. So I think there's real question marks, and ZooMaa's talking about some of these teams right here. We'll look at a couple of clips right now saying, look, these guys, either they're not competing, it's pretty pathetic to be honest that they're not actually trying to do better than they are and make some roster changes to get in a good spot. And is part of that due to the fact that, well, some of these players potentially are scared of getting their spots taken by some amateur players that have been doing so well on the challenger side.
See what they want to do. And then also management, right? I'm hearing rumors that Paris doesn't even want to change this year. Like, they gave these 4 players this contract and said, listen, this is it. Like, no changes, no nothing, go work it out. I heard that's their mindset.
I really hope that's not the case.
That's what I heard.
Can speak from personal experience, hearing that kind of sucks. I don't remember how good or bad he was last year. I just know. I mean, yeah, that's how everyone is.
I said, what do you mean? Pros would never do that.
The league is gatekept, dude. Like the fact that there's this many amateur players this year is
this conversation.
It is. It's true.
It is true.
Listen, why do you want to gas somebody up to take your job? That sounds like a horrible idea.
Literally, no, that's what it is.
I think they need to change, and I think they need to do it now.
Okay.
Because they don't have a chance. Look at your competition. They're all over the map. They're slinging players around that have won multiple championships, world championships. They're assassinating them. Guys, are we playing for first or top 6?
It's weird because LAG also played a like 5-minute.
Facts.
What are we playing for? These teams, you know what I'm saying? That's why I'm like,
yeah, no, it's
I'm
a fair
bored.
point.
If you want to win championships, start building the championship caliber team. I'm gonna be honest, and not because I'm biased. New York's been showing me signs of life. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, New York looks good. FaZe look good. Dallas looks good. OpTic has shown a sign of life. Like, those teams I want to. Some of these other teams, do you want to win or do you want to get top 6, top 8? It's the eye test. I'm watching these teams and I know for a fact they have no chance.
Because I think a team like Los Angeles Guerrillas, right? You look at that lineup, aPeZy, Silly, Assault, and Vivid. Vivid, of course, a very talented young player. That's probably the player you want to be building around for the future, but just a strange lineup to put together. I understand their idea, the fact that, okay, these are 3 veterans. They won on the last 4v4 boots on the ground title, but of course the game has moved on somewhat since then, and you've got to think that if you're some of those guys on that team, you're probably somewhat concerned that LAG are looking at some of the young talents, and of course they do also have an academy team, which doesn't seem to have been doing particularly well, so maybe they don't want to bring anyone up from there. But at the same time, they've already got their substitute spots filled, so I think if they were to bring on a 14-day, they would then have to drop one of their subs if they were to then bring that 14-day player on as a full-time substitute, so it gets a little bit interesting, but there's clearly so much talent out there right now, and I mean, these are some of the former Pro League players that are, you know, chilling in the amateur side, and this doesn't even, like, you know, scratch the surface of some of these teams that have a talent which hasn't been in the Pro League before, so some phenomenal names, of course, right here, and Hydra as well is another big one. I think people have been singing a lot of Hydra's praises these last couple of days, because he's been using the Krig on the Subliners Academy, which is not a role that he's pretty much ever played before. Usually he's like a 74U main SMG type player, but as of late he's been using the Krig because the teams effectively forced him onto this assault rifle, and he's still putting up crazy numbers and getting all the hill time as well. So this guy clearly an unbelievable talent, and obviously I imagine New York want to keep hold of him and get him into their starting team. Maybe at some point if they maybe if they slow down for a couple of stages they might consider it, but right now of course that starting team on New York is looking so good that maybe other teams looking at Hydra and thinking, yeah, no, could we poach him somehow? Could we maybe make this work if New York don't want to be making any changes? It's certainly something which is possible, and there's some other names as well here, of course. I mean, this is a few days ago now before Standy got picked up to the Rokkr, but you got Sib, you got Davpaddy, you got Decimate players like this chilling in the challenger side. Spart Saints, of course, is one of the big question marks. There was rumours linking him to Paris, but as we just said, it seems like they're going to be sticking, and there was clips as well of ZooMaa discussing how he'd heard that they just don't want to be spending any more money this season and just want to stick to the lineup that they have, maybe not even bringing someone like Sate into the team, even if that might make sense to partner and went with Classic, that he's had good success within the past, guys like ProLoot as well. So I think there's a lot of questions right now. Most of these teams have either looked pretty good at some point in the season, are improving significantly based on roster changes, or a team like, Florida or Seattle, for example, have actually just, buckled down and seems to be improving as a team. Paris looked good early part of this season, no doubt about that. There's certainly talent, I think, on Toronto, but all of these three teams that I've highlighted here, how much potential do they really have? Like, are they just competing for top 6? That's certainly not where you want to be. You want to be competing for championships, and if you were managing one of these teams, who would you want to bring in from the challenger side to try and switch up your lineup? Because the problem is that there's a lot of teams right now, Thieves maybe especially, some other ones out there, I mean, Rokkr have just picked up Standy, some of these more big name lineups, I suppose, that have, they've been in the market for some of these challenger players, and some of the big ones, the likes of Venom, the likes of Standy, are now, well, signed to these teams. So how many options do you really have remaining if you're Los Angeles Grillers? It's difficult to get some European talent, for example, and of course they're in a difficult spot maybe with their substitute bench, not looking too hot either. On a 5-series loss streak as well, tough to figure out exactly what the solution is for this team, and look, I want this league to be as competitive as possible. A lot of teams are making changes. I think that's a step in the right direction for a lot of these squads that we've seen these last several days, but well, there's some squads especially that either don't seem willing to do so, or some of their players are, finding ways to, avoid getting dropped, right? Because that's kind of what it is. In the Pro League, we've talked about it for a fair bit of time now, the idea that if you're a Pro League player, there's a deep incentive, especially if you think you might be on your way out, of finding a way to try and stay in the league, either friendships-wise, or, talking about maybe how this player isn't quite as good, or, like if you're one of these players, like a veteran player on a team that's probably in your last 1 or 2 seasons competing, are you really going to be going out and telling your general manager about this, like, young talent that you've scouted that you think might be good? Because at the end of the day, they might be the one taking your spot, and that also then relies on the team actually opening their wallets to actually be willing to spend for, to get some of these players on the team, even if only for a 14-day type deal, which Paris Legion may not be willing to do. And as I say, they look pretty good early part of this season, but have fallen off pretty significantly. Maybe this scraps of fire change will work in the short term once again, but I just don't think it's a long-term solution. And that's the thing with Paris, right? Like, if you're not willing to spend any money here, your substitute is technically your coach already, then you're really thinking, like, where is this team destined for at the end of the season? Probably, not even getting to the World Championships would be my guess if the trajectory continues as it is at the present time. But in tweeting your thoughts in the comment section below. This is a pretty nice clip that OpTic tweet out from our good old Bob Lee Schwager, of course, that being David Karma Barlow. He's been talking a fair bit on stream these last couple of days. I think he had an interesting clip where he was discussing how, like, look, if OpTic want to call him up as coach, or he would be willing to do so if they want to get him into that position. But right now he's just on the stream grind, which is always entertaining, a very entertaining guy to watch, of course. And these are the games that are starting tomorrow. Just I thought to kind of wet your whistle a little bit for exactly what's going on here, because some of these matches are going to be very interesting indeed. The final one of the week, of course, being Empire versus OpTic Chicago. That's going to be a banger, but yeah, if you guys wanted to check this out, I'll leave it on screen for a couple of seconds before we finish the video. Intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, I'd greatly appreciate a like on the video. It really helps out the YouTube algorithm to know you enjoyed this content. Other people like you may enjoy this content as well, and help grow the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you for watching as always, take care, and I will see you next time.